13. Hector has a bag that contains 12 counters. There are 7 green counters and 5 red counters in the bag. Hector takes at random a counter from the bag. He looks at the counter and puts the counter back into the bag. Hector then takes at random a second counter from the bag. He looks at the counter and puts the counter back into the bag. Complete the probability tree diagram. For the first counter, the probability for green 7/12, so probability of red 5/12. Same for the second, because he puts the counter back, so same. So probability of green 7/12 and for red 5/12. Now B, work out the probability that both counters are red. So red and red, so 5/12 times 5/12. 5/12 times 5/12 equals 25/144. Megan has a jar containing 15 counters. There are only blue counters, green counters, and red counters in the jar. Hector is going to take at random one of the counters from his bag of 12 counters. He will look at the counter and put the counter back into the bag. Hector is then going to take at random a second counter from his bag. He will lock the counter and put the counter back into the bag. Megan is then going to take at random one of the counters from her jar of counters. She will look at the counter and put the counter back into the jar. The probability that the 3 counters each have a different color is 7/24. Work out how many blue counters there are in the jar. So for the bag we have 7 green and 5 red. In total we have 12. For the jar we have number of blue and number of green and number of red, and the total 15. We have 2 from the bag and 1 from the jar. So 2 from the bag to be different color, so 1 green and 1 red. Maybe the first green and the second red, or the first red and the second green. And for the third one should be blue, because it cannot be green or red. So the probability that the 2 counters from the bag, 1 green and 1 red, so 7/12 for green and 5/12 for red, multiply by 2 because the order does matter. Maybe the first green and second red, or the second green and the first red. So this is the probability that the first 2 counters different color. Each has different color. Now for the third one, the probability to blue, if we consider that we have x counters blue, so multiply by x/15 equals 7/24. Now with your calculator find that value. Equal 35/72 times x/15 equals 7/24. Now multiply these 2 fractions. 35 times x equals 35x. 72 times 15 equals 1080 equals 7/24. Now find x. X equals, transpose 1080 to the other side, multiply. So 7 times 1080 divide by 24 multiply 35 equals 9 counters.